Hello everyone and welcome to the SBI Securities Weekly Wrap podcast. So first, let's discuss how the markets have been in the week gone by. Indian benchmark indices ended the week higher, boosted by the rally on Friday. Nifty and Sensex ended 0.7% and 0.9% higher week on week. Broader markets marginally underperformed with BSE mid-cap and small-cap indices ending positive 0.4% and 0.5% week on week. Sectorally, the IT sector was the biggest outperformer in the week with almost all the IT heavyweights gaining approximately 5% each. The BSE PSU, Power and Metals led by permission to levy retrospective taxes by the states on mining companies from 2005 onwards indices ended lower. The domestic macro data was mixed with July 24 CPI and WPI providing relief especially on the food inflation, while the merchandise trade deficit widened with exports declining by 1.5% in July 24, led by weaknesses in the key export markets. The 1Q FY25 earnings season also drew to a close this week with mixed bag set of earnings and very few companies and sectors beating the consensus estimates. Overall, it seems that the pace of earnings growth is likely to slow down to 11 to 12% YY in FY25 on the high base of 15 to 16% CAGR during FY20 to FY24 period. Indian markets though underperformed globally with indices across the USA, Europe and Asia Pacific ex Shanghai and Thailand ending the week with gains of greater than 2% each. Nikkei ended with gain of 8.7%, recovering all the losses witnessed post the surprise rate hike from the Bank of Japan. Favorable economic data in the USA provided relief to the markets globally, which were concerned with the recession fears in the US. The above than consensus retail sales data and lower additions to the weekly jobless claims indicated that the pace of slowdown is not as severe as previously anticipated. The lower than estimated CPI and PPI data for the month of July 24 further raised the hopes of a September 24 rate cut from the US Fed. Aspects to look out during the next week are: next week will be dominated by stock specific action in the absence of any major cues. Over the next few weeks, markets will closely track the progress of monsoon, domestic consumer sentiment and consumption data in the ensuing festive season, that is Raksha Bandhan, Ganesh Chaturthi, etc. Talking about the weekly sectoral gainers and losers on BSE. Except BSE Metal, Power and PSU, all other sectoral indices ended on a positive note. BSE IT, Consumer Durable, Realty, Auto, Cap Goods, Oil and Gas, Bankex, Healthcare and FMCG were the biggest sectoral gainers with weekly gains of 4.3%, 3.9%, 2.6%, 1%, 0.4%, 0.3%, 0.3%, 0.2% and 0.2%, whereas BSE Metal, Power and PSU declined 0.6%, 0.7% and 1.2% respectively. Talking about the weekly Nifty 50 gainers and losers. The top gainers in Nifty 50 during the week were Tech Mahindra, Wipro, Infosys, HCL Technologies and TCS, while top Nifty 50 losers were Divi's Laboratories, Coal India, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, NTPC and Adani Ports and SEZ. Now let us take a check on some key monetary bill. So for the week, FIs net sold rupees 9,654 crores, while DIs were net buyers to the tune of rupees 7,954 crores. DI's data is till 14th August. Brent crude marginally decreased by 1% week on week to $78.9 per barrel during the week. US 10-year bond yield marginally increased by 1.6% week on week to 3.877. Moving on to key domestic and international economic news. So first we have is India's CPI inflation. India's headline consumer price index based inflation rate fell to a near 5-year low of 3.54% in July versus 5.08% a month ago. This was also the first time in nearly 5 years that the overall inflation has fallen below the RBI's medium-term target of 4%. Rural inflation stood at 4.1%, while urban inflation was seen at 2.98% in July. Food inflation also eased to a 13-month low of 5.42% in July from 9.36% in June. Second, India's trade deficit. India's merchandise trade deficit widened YOY to USD 23.5 billion in July versus the consensus forecast of USD 21.35 billion. Exports declined by 1.4% YOY to USD 33.98 billion, while imports rose by 7.5% YOY to USD 57.48 billion. Next, US July CPI data. The July 24 US CPI showed an increase of 2.9% YOY versus the consensus estimate of 3% YOY. Core CPI stood at 3.2% for July, meeting estimates. The better than expected inflation reports indicate that the Fed will likely cut rate at its September meeting, the first reduction in 4.5 years. Positive US retail sales data. US consumer spending jumped in July as retail sales were up more than expected at 1% month on month versus the consensus estimate of 0.3% month on month. Moving on to corporate developments. So first is ONGC. So the company has secured the government's approval to invest an additional equity infusion of Rs 10,502 crores in its petrochemical arm. So positive for ONGC in long term. GR Infra Projects. The company has received a letter of intent from REC Power Development for a transmission project in Karnataka. So overall positive for GR Infra Projects in medium to long term. Power Grid Corporation. So the company has received a letter of intent for a 20 gigawatt interstate transmission line in Rajasthan. So overall positive for Power Grid Corporation in long term. GSW Steel. The company will buy 66.7% stake in M Resources NSW through purchase of Class B shares for a consideration of USD 120 million along with an additional investment obligation of USD 50 million. So overall positive for GSW Steel in long term. Vedanta will sell 3.31% stake in Hindustan Zinc through OFS via stock exchange mechanism. Hindustan Zinc has opened its offer for sale for 13.37 crore shares at a floor price of Rs 486 per share. So overall negative for Hindustan Zinc in short to medium term. Mahindra & Mahindra. So the company has launched the 5-door Thar Rocks on Wednesday with a launch price of Rs 12.99 lakh. So overall positive for M&M in long term. Bombay Dyeing. The company has completed the sale of its Mumbai land parcel to Sumitomo Realty for a consideration of Rs 538 crores. So overall positive for Bombay Dyeing in short to medium term. Tata Steel. So the company has acquired additional 115 crore shares in T Steel Holdings for Rs 1,528 crores. So positive for Tata Steel in long term. Jindal Stainless. The company has successfully commissioned its nickel pig iron smelter facility located in Indonesia. So positive for Jindal Stainless in short to medium term. Strides Pharma Science. The company has dissolved its US unit, namely Ultima Innovations, as a part of an optimization exercise. So overall neutral to positive for Strides Pharma Science in short to medium term. Marico. So the company has announced that Marico has announced that the company's manufacturing operations in Bangladesh have resumed at a normal scale. So overall positive for Marico in medium to long term. Kotak Mahindra Bank. So the bank's unit Sonata Finance and BSS Microfinance have approved a merger with each other. So positive for Kotak Mahindra Bank in medium to long term. Ola Electric Mobility. The company unveiled its e-motorcycle series Roadster featuring 3 bikes priced between Rs 75,000 and Rs 2,49,000. So overall positive for Ola Electric in medium to long term. Now moving on to the order inflows during the week. So the following companies received orders during the week. So first we have is NBCC India, where it received an order of Rs 10 crores from Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Again is NBCC India, where it has received an order of 710 crores from Jhansi Development Agency. Next is NBCC India, where it has received an order worth Rs 528 crores from Directorate of Medical Education and Research, Haryana. Next we have is Inox India, where it has received an order of 51 megawatts from Everrenew Energy Private Limited. Power Mech Projects. The company has received an order worth Rs 114 crores from Coastal Energy Private Limited. Next we have is Paras Defense, where the company has received an order worth Rs 305 crores from L&T. JNK India. So it has received an order worth rupees 50 to 150 crores from HPCL. GE Power India. So the company has received an order worth rupees 47 crores from Steag Energy Services India Private Limited. PSP Projects. It has received an order worth rupees 654 crores. Now moving on to the monsoon status 2024. So all India, the cumulative rainfall as a percentage was above 5%. Was as a percentage was 5% above the long period average from 1st June to 15th August 2024. Now moving on to pick of the week, which is one of our product where we have given a buy call on Time Technoplast Limited at a CMP of rupees 386.7 with price target of rupees 464. So Time Technoplast is one of the leading manufacturer of technology-based polymer and composite products. Its product portfolio includes industrial packaging products such as drums, containers and pails, auto components and HDPE pipes. Its value-added product portfolio includes intermediate bulk containers used for storage of chemicals as well as composite cylinders for storage of LPG, CNG and other industrial gases. Talking about the key growth driver, so Time Technoplast is expected to be a major beneficiary of the growth in infrastructure, automotive, energy as well as consumer sectors. The company's product primarily serve these end user segments and the company expects double-digit volume growth in FY25. Volume growth in FY24 stood at 19%. As of June 24, the order book for PE pipes and composite cylinders stood at Rs 200 crores and Rs 175 crores respectively. Talking about its valuation, at CMP, the stock trades at FY25 and at CMP, the stock trades at FY25, FY26 PE multiple of 27.3 times and 20.8 times respectively. Next is corporate actions for the next week. So for key corporate actions in next week, kindly refer to our weekly wrap report. The link to view the report is shared in the description box below. So this was all about the weekly market podcast. Thank you for listening.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.